Welcome everyone back to the examining of the actual sprouts, and you can see the containers here, and you can see of course it's very difficult in photography at this level to see what's going on, but you can probably make out the fact that this just has the controlled jar has a lot more growth for whatever reason that is, compared to the tachyonized, which actually grew a little less than the other jar. Now, I'm not really sure what that proves. It certainly proves that tachyon certainly didn't help the growing process, did nothing to enhance the process. And as we look at the actual sprouts themselves, here's the tachyon sprouts. If we look at a general mixture of them, these are the tachyon ones. Now, observing them, there basically is no difference in terms of the sprouts in general. There is, I shouldn't say no difference, there is a slight difference. The actual size of the sprouts of the actual tachyon sprouts compared to the other ones, if we can kind of make this out, are relatively the same. It appears the control subjects actually are a little larger in general than the tachyonized ones. It's not a huge difference, but if you look at them in total, it seems that the controlled non-tachyonized or affected sprouts are a little bigger and a little better than the ones that had a large tachyon disc underneath it and a tachyon cell in it. Now, the other thing we're going to test here is we're going to see exactly what kind of energetics using a pendulum. Now, I'm a very skilled pendulum user. I've been using it for over 30 years. Get excellent results. Have been able to test things extremely well. So pendulums can be tricky for the average person, but if you're a good pendulum user, you should be able to check the energy. So what we're going to do here is, what's the energy of the tachyonized? Now, wait a minute here. Let me take the actual tachyon disc out of this one. So that's an could affect that. We're checking the energy that's left in the actual sprouts and not the disc itself. So let's take that out and put that over here to the side. That just further shows that we had this red round tachyon cell is what they're called. They're glass cells. Now, they serve as antennas. They do not accumulate. Now, many energies are accumulative in nature. Pyramids accumulate. Traditional orgone is based on the Reich's accumulator, the traditional type, actually accumulates and builds energy. Tachyon discs serve as an antenna. They don't accumulate any energy. They just draw the more energy, or the tachyons that are in your environment, to you. And this is a small one, about the size of a U.S. quarter. And of course, we had a very large one underneath the actual during the growing process. And the disc has always been in there. Now let's check this and see what kind of energy does this have in general. Now, you can always tell by how quickly. Now, I always go by clockwise and counterclockwise spins. Now, this is going to spin because it's a positive energy food. It's going to spin clockwise, but how fast it does tells me the energy of it and how large the spin is. This is how you check energy fields. So we're getting a basically good spin, the size of this top of this container, which is about 3 inches in diameter. Now let's try it over the control subject. What's the energy in this one? And again, you judge this by spins. If you get a helicopter spin, which is, huge, this means you've got a very powerful product. The smaller the spin, the less actual energy that is there. The spin we just got from the Tachyon stuff is a little better than average spin for, I would say, that particular item. Let's see what this does. Okay, we're getting the exact same spin here. If anything, it may be a little stronger, but it's very hard to judge those types of things. What's a little stronger, what's not, and so forth. So looking at these, I mean, we had basically good growth from both sprouts, but they always grow. Sprouts grow very easily, very quickly, particularly in these jars that we have, which are set up. The sprouts are organic broccoli sprouts, all the same water, all the same conditions, all the same everything. And what really matters with any test is that you do it the same. It doesn't matter whether it's exposed to something or something happens, as long as both samples are exposed to the same thing. So having perfect conditions, etc., but the same water was used from the exact same bottle, I should say. So all of that was the same exposure to all the elements. And we come to a conclusion here to start off with, and I will have a more detailed discussion of tachyons in general to kind of follow this experiment, is that there was no significant help in the assistance of sprouting in this. Now, I've done experiments in the past and non-controlled like this, and have thought I got okay results using tachyons, and some interesting and even fascinating results where it may have increased growth. Now, posted on the Tachyon actual web page, they have a test using grapes. Now, this is a pretty dramatic picture that they show on their website of how the Tachyon slowed down the actual aging of the grapes while the other grapes turned into almost raisins. Their Tachyonized grapes still looked very good, almost a pyramid-esque looking test. Now, we're going to try and replicate that, and this is classic great science here, people. You try and replicate what someone's done. Now, we're going to repeat this sprouting test yet again in the future and see what results we come out. One test is never a highly conclusive, even though it obviously points in a particular direction. With any new age type products or any products in general, it really doesn't have to be alternative or new age. Do they work or do they not work? I mean, our houses are full of junk products from regular manufacturers that don't work well with great promises. Here, yet again, we have something that when it comes to actual plant matter, there seems to be a question of how effective it is. Now, I've used tachyons for many, many years physically and so forth, and have gotten minor, what appears to be positive results from it. But time will tell with all that as we do more and more research, and is something worth investing in. And lots of these products, including tachyons, can be very expensive depending on what you're getting. Now, these cells that we have here, while not super expensive, cost enough, and of course they do last for life. So, if you can use something forever, then it does have a value. So that is much greater than a usable product. The question is it doing anything at all beyond the classic placebo effect. And there should be changes in actual growth that is noticeable if it's going to have value. Here we have a case where there is no noticeable increase in growth, and actually something strange happened where we have actually less growth. So watch for my final conclusion audio, and we will then move on to the next experiment.